I'm delighted to introduce the inspirational and life-changing Steven Jepson, presenting his revolutionary concept, Never Leave the Playground.
First 500 times you do something, I don't care if it's jacks, Sudoku, knitting, whatever, the first 500 times you do something causes the biggest changes in the brain. There is no failure in play, people. There is no failure in any of this kind of stuff. First of all, a lot of you might be doing it by yourself, so nobody's going to see how good you do. But you're going to see how good you do and how good you get over time, and you practice some of these things a little bit better, and then your neighbor comes over and says, "Hey Gladys, look, I've been messing around with these marbles here. I like to do this or that. Here, show me what you can do." And they won't be able to do it, and they'll just think you're so wonderful. But anyway, in Germany, they took a group of people, 60 people approximately, and they did something called a functional MRI, fMRI, of these people's noggins. And they took some people from the population. I don't know whether these were 60 school kids or 60 people from a company or whoever, but they also took a group of people just from the population and did an fMRI of their brains too. What they had the 60 people that were going to learn to juggle, they had them practice 20 minutes a day for 2 months. And they came back after 2 months, and about half of the people, about 30 of the people, had learned to juggle pretty well. They could juggle pretty well. And the other half could not juggle very well at all. They were still throwing up and dropping. Okay, so they did another fMRI of the population that they'd done in the beginning, and what kind of changes had occurred in those people's brains? Anybody can say it? Not. They had no changes. Okay, of the 30 people that had learned to juggle well, their brains lit up like a Christmas tree. Big changes in their brain. What about the people, the 30 people, the other half that had been practicing but didn't learn to do it very well? What about those people? What kind of changes did they have in their brains? They had exactly the same changes that the people who learned how to do it well. It doesn't make any difference. It doesn't make any difference how well you learn to do something new. It's just the fact that you're trying to do it causes these huge changes in your brain. Just the fact that you're trying to do something new with your hands and your feet causes these big changes in your brain. Here's a jump rope. Anyway, but. Well, here's a new jump rope. There's my new jump rope. You can jump rope too, just like Steven. You are all growing new brain cells just by watching me. It wasn't until 1998 that it was discovered that when I was pre-med and pre-dent in college, and I learned in the 60s when I was going to college that we were born with pretty much all the brain cells that we're ever going to have in our lives at about the age of 5, and from then on it's just this long slow slide downhill. We're just constantly losing brain cells. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. So we can just lose them and 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 lose them. Not so. Not so. The scientists in about 1998 put a tracker. People that were very, very sick but had a mind for how important it might be to do this thing, allowed doctors to put a tracker in their blood that would only affix itself to new brain cells. And these people were very sick. And they died. And they did an autopsy of their brains, and it turns out that they were developing new brain cells almost the day they died, constantly. We're growing new brain cells. We can grow new brain cells all of our lives. I have supercharged ways of growing new brain cells, and I'm going to share them with you in a little while here. Okay, we've got Here, our piece of PVC. For a talk I was giving on the West Coast, they wanted me to make some things to sell to people. So I painted these. These were just white PVC. And I just didn't want everybody in the audience to say, oh, he just painted some PVC. But that's all this is, with black tape around one end. And what this does is, it tells me where that black tape is. The one end I can see real plain. And you just rotate this like this. You can do this with a wooden spoon in the kitchen. A wooden spoon in the kitchen. But if you do it with PVC, then you can do the half turn. There's the half turn, half turn, half turn, half turn. Now I've got the hold of the black end. Full turn, full turn, full turn. Now left hand. This one is much lighter, and I really don't like. I like the weight of this much better. But half turn, half turn, half turn, full turn. Oops. Full turn.
Three-quarter turn.
Full turn. No, there is no three-quarter turn. That was great. There is no three-quarter turn. And then when you get good, you can do that. Who knows? Who knows? Inactive lifestyle is killing us. Some people think that you grow old and then you slow down. It's just the opposite. You slow down and then you grow old. If you stay perky and moving and zippy, then you're perky and moving and zippy. And who's going to call you old then?
Perky and moving and zipping.
You're so sweet. I want you in every one of my audiences from now on. I'm going to take you with me. Okay, she said she just saw something on TV about Alzheimer's this morning. They said that it's incurable. I've been studying this stuff for a while now, and it turns out that Alzheimer's, the disease, starts about 30 years before you have any symptoms. Have any of you heard that? Yes. Okay, so at 62 years old, you begin to develop Alzheimer's, and at 90 years old, you fall in the kitchen, bump your head, and die of a catastrophic brain injury. Or at 87, you get pneumonia, and in the hospital 2 days and you're dead. You missed it. You missed the disease. What I'm doing creates redundancy or extra. Cognitive reserve is what I'm about. Extra in the brain. There are people that with amyloid plaque and all these tangles, they did. Aunt Mildred went in the hospital, and she did just what I just described. She got she fell at 89 or 90 years old, and she fell and bumped her head, and she died in 2 days of catastrophic brain injury. And her family came in and said, "My God, Aunt Mildred was healthy as a horse. What in the world has happened here? We want an autopsy." And they do an autopsy, and the doctors come back and they say Aunt Mildred had dementia and Alzheimer's. The family said, No, she didn't. Her son's an anesthesiologist in Hawaii. She flew every year and spent 2-3 weeks with her son in Hawaii. She played chess. She played bridge. She spoke 2 languages. She went and helped out at the hospital with caring for people. On and on and on. They think you can create redundancy in your brain that will guard against this the deterioration that could happen from these things, that you can forestall it or put it off. I'm not guaranteeing or saying that you can do that. All I'm saying is the people who kind of do the things I do statistically, I'm telling you people, I'm statistically putting the odds in your favor with this stuff. I am putting the odds in your favor. Yes. Okay, so here I have a hopscotch. Here I have a hopscotch. And my hopscotch is, I bought a roll of, this is 1-inch nylon webbing, it's called. And I have my seamstress. I couldn't cut this stuff. So I went to the kitchen and I got a global serrated knife and cut this like butter. Anyway, so I took it to my seamstress, and she sewed all these together for me so that I've got these squares. And so my hopscotch can go down the sidewalk, over into the grass, and back onto the sidewalk again. It can go in a circle. It can go. Normally, hopscotches are these patterns that people put down with chalk or paint, and they're almost all the same. But I'm not the same.
We know this.
Okay, so.
You proved it.
Thank you. So, now, whenever I put two squares together, whenever I put two squares in a session like that, that means to me, that means that I spin. So I might start out. So, whenever I put 3 in a row like that, doubles, what I call 3 doubles, that means that I spin. And so that's just I made all this stuff up, people, and you can make it up too. And what I want to do is I want to train my hands and my feet to be quicker and more accurate. If you fall down, people, you want to fall down forward or backward. And if you're walking with somebody, you want to reach over and grab them and slowly drag them down too. Because they're going to fall. You think I'm kidding? You do not want to fall sideways, people. Over the age of 65, falling sideways and breaking a hip, CDC figures are horrific. And I didn't come in here and I could come in here and just make you all cry with the stuff I could rattle off about CDC figures and aging. That's why I do this stuff. Because I want to stay sharp and crisp and clear. Balance it on there. By the way, there's nothing special about me. Nothing special about me that's any specialer than anything that you guys are. I just chose to do this stuff. I just picked this out to do. And then when I read that study on juggling and I found out it made these big changes in people's brains, I thought, well, I can figure that out. And I came up with the idea of never leave the playground. And this stuff, picking up marbles with your toes sitting down, almost all of you are going to be able to do that right out of the chute. How many of you are sitting down are going to be able to keep this tennis ball on this tray? Yeah, nothing to it. Okay, and then she just upped the challenge a little bit by following the lines I've drawn on the tray. The circle is by far the toughest one. So you can do that. And so then you can stand up. Then you can stand on one foot. I really want to encourage you all to begin to practice balancing on one foot. It will dramatically improve your balance. Up here. I've got a whisk.
Yeah, I have that home.
Yes! And this, folks, is right on your left-handed whisk. Non-dominant. So everybody in here is left-handed, raise your hand. Left-handed, okay. This is a non-dominant hand whisk, okay? So you folks use your right hand, but the rest of us use the left hand. And you stand on one foot in the kitchen, and you stand on one foot, and you stir with your non-dominant hand. I'm telling you, people, it's so good for your brain. It's supercharged in the way that it creates new brain cells. It's like learning to juggle without the difficulty. You can bounce, throw it up. You can sit down and do this. Do it back and forth hand. When it goes from hand to hand, it goes through something called the corpus callosum in the brain. Brain is divided into 2 hemispheres, right and left hemisphere. And the corpus callosum is that area between the 2 hemispheres where everything that goes from the right hand and the right eye and everything goes back and forth between that area. And it's really good to have things go through that area a lot. And a lot of the things I do does